All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience always in getting our conversations live on Facebook. My name is Lisa Garrow, and I am the founder of Candy Event Consulting and the publishing of Moments Magazine. We are on number 9, so we just recently published. It's called the Expand issue. And for those of you that haven't been tracking with Candy before, the idea of Moments Magazine is meant to be a really great group, curated group of discussions around event planning, not just by event planners. And so the beauty of the people that we get to work with and the people that contribute is that they see events from their perspective. So when you read a Moments magazine, it really is meant to be that chance for you to look in as a photographer, as somebody from AV, maybe somebody that is coming in as a speaker. In the case of Kristy, thank you so much for being here today as somebody who is in holistic wellness. And what a beautiful article that you wrote for us in this last issue. The idea of expand, before we get you to introduce yourself, Kristy, the idea of expand is really, we have been, I chose the theme of expand before COVID ever hit. And I was so excited about all these ideas of growth. And we were experiencing that at Candy here, where we were growing exponentially. We had an amazing March planned, both internally with a lot of cool events we were going to do. We were going to do a clarity tour this year where we're going to see a lot of you all over Alberta and in BC. And with our clients, lots of great growth that we were experiencing. And I think a lot of you out there were experiencing that. And then all of a sudden COVID hits and hit the event industry pretty hard. And a lot of our friends and colleagues and clients that were planning events, all of a sudden, everything is now upside down. And I think I said, Kristy, on the last interview, it's like everything's upside down, but it has to keep moving. So we're all kind of looking at the ceiling, wondering what's next. I was years ago, I was in an accident where we actually flipped upside down a embankment, and we were hanging upside down. And for my 80s friends, it was Lionel Richie's Dancing on the Ceiling. As we're hanging upside down and figuring out how the heck do we get out of this. So if you are experiencing that feeling right now that you are dancing on the ceiling, we are here for you. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And thank you again, Kristy, for joining me today. We met a few months ago. That was through the No Book and Tribe. That would have been last year, probably, that we met. Yes. And I have always admired how you do business, how you show up. And I have appreciated our conversations so much. They've been very inspiring for me personally. And the chance to feature you in the magazine was really important to me. And this particular topic that you talked about, which we'll get into a little bit in our conversation, I think appeals to a lot of people like me, where we are on 24/7. It's just how we're built. If you are planning events out there, I know that you have not just in COVID, but typically we are always on and planning things for our families, for our kids, and for the people around us, and trying to organize things in ways that it makes sense, and categorize and put maybe our life in a binder so that it makes sense. But this idea of how do we take care of ourselves in all of this is really important. So welcome, Kristy. I'm going to just pass the mic to you and let you introduce yourself if you could, and what brings you here today, what brought you to Moments, and yeah, just a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you, Lisa. It's an honor to be speaking with you today, and it was so nice to be able to contribute to your magazine. I really believe in the idea of expanding and connecting. So, as you mentioned, my name is Kristy Garnet, and I am the owner of Almondine Wellness. I am a holistic living empowerment mentor and a clinical herbalist. So many people have never heard of that before.
We'll put that in the chat box with a link so
everybody can find you. Put that in the link. So if I can put that really simply, what I do is I work with a lot of professional women, primarily professional women and entrepreneurs, and type A people that think very linearly, that always are working and striving, and they are highly successful. And what they end up usually doing is putting everybody in front of themselves, and then they'll have a physical issue or ailment, and they want the connection on a holistic level. So, what is the root of this condition that I have? Well, maybe it's that, you're stressed out, and event planners never, like good event planners never seem to sweat. You just don't see them sweating.
We just have about 16 changes of clothing. I'll be right back.
Right back. That's right. I'm just going to check on this. And and so what the article was really about is, how do you actually care for yourself in a way and acknowledge that there is stress in your life, and distract yourself from that stress, and then calm your system down. So, a lot of times people don't even recognize the stress that they have. So I see clients often where I'm like, well, how much stress do you have in your life? Well, not much. And then you find out that they own their own business. They put on 3 events a month. Now COVID, there's an added stress with that. How do you social distance? How do you even go to the grocery store? Social cues are different. So your system has different inputs now. So that's, really what I'm tackling every day, is a reminder to very high performing people that are used to getting things done, that you can take time, and you'll actually get more done if you care for yourself, and the event will be better, and you'll remember it. I don't know how many times you've done events and you don't remember different pieces of it.
Yeah. Well, and like you're saying, I think it's really important for us to highlight that sometimes we're not conscious of it, right? Like we're so busy managing at this level because we're kind of keeping things moving. And I used to actually say to a team of mine, through a pretty stressful period, I had said, they'd ask me how I am. And I said, I'm totally great as long as you don't ask me how I am. And honestly, it was a coping mechanism. It was something that for me, I just needed to keep the truck on the road, and I needed to make sure that everything's in the truck and that we get to where we need to go. And I think in some ways we mask it for a period of time until, and you would probably agree with this too, but until things start to manifest themselves in ways that we don't intentionally in ways that we don't intend them to materialize or manifest themselves, where it might just be that you're not sleeping well. It might be that you're short with your kids. It might be that you're forgetting things. Like I had a great session with a gal where she's like, I just, there's so much going on. I can't put my finger on that, the word, right? And she's trying to grasp for the word, where it's something that is completely part of her life. And so this idea of pressuring ourselves or putting ourselves in a position where it's not even just busy, it's just a lot of things that we're keeping organized and in a certain, everybody in the row, or everything in the row. And we're not consciously aware of how stressful it can be. And sometimes it's not until we slow down that we start to recognize where our mindset's at or where our stress level is at. And an example this summer, I've had a pretty up and down few months, and my husband and I went away for a week, and we actually brought a puzzle with us. So I now, it's very rare. It's a couple times a year maybe that I'll do a puzzle, but I bought this very specific puzzle that I really loved. And I thought, this could be something we could do over the course of that week. And it was amazing how it was a way for me to, and which became the article title, Distract and Relax. Because I can't just sit and do nothing. It's not my nature. Right. But if I could put that energy into something where I'm now finding pictures, and it's, it didn't lead to something necessarily that was business related or, client related, but it allowed me to keep busy while literally I felt like it was a way for me to relax and take the breather.
Right.
But I don't know, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's in the article, and people can read it? If actually, I'll just mention it, and then I will put it in the chat, but it's at candyconsulting.ca/moments-magazine. And Kristy's full article is there, lots of other great content. But Kristy, what was in that article, and why was that article important and special for you, and important to highlight for event planners?
From my experience working with clients, I find that most people don't recognize, like you said, consciously what's going on until it's a little bit too late. So you will ask someone a question and you'll say, how do you relax? Well, I don't have much time to relax. The response is, I don't have much time to relax. So, I'll go on vacation for 2 weeks. Well, right now, where are you going to go?
Yeah, exactly.
How are you going to go somewhere and completely unplug? If you're relying on that, and you're relying on that in ways to just totally shut down, then you're not giving your system the chance to catch up on the everyday stuff. So the whole article was for those types of people, and I'm one of them. I confess, I am not a sit and do nothing. My partner, he'll say to me, "Why don't you just sit in the backyard and just relax?" And it is irritating because my physiology isn't able to relax like that. If I am sitting in the backyard and doing nothing, that means I've crashed. So the idea is that if you're like that, which many of you are, what you need to do is actually distract your brain. So give your brain a distraction so that your physiological system, your nervous system, your digestive system, your heart, your circulatory system, that can really catch up and relax. So the fact that you took a puzzle, some of my clients would kill me if I suggested, why don't you do a puzzle? Because their brain doesn't work like that. They're like, right. No way. But some very linear thinkers, oftentimes, like Lisa, I suspect you are a very creative type, but you also are organized. So for me, I work with people in unique ways, and I find the ways that they're able to work together and really get to the root of their healing. So for you, having that creative space when you're able to distract your brain so that in the background, something's running, so that when you wake up in the middle of the night with a fantastic idea, that allows it to happen. So the puzzle puts your brain waves into a place where the rest of your body can relax.
Interesting. Yeah.
So some people, so that was, that's one of those great tips where distract your brain and relax. Often you can do that by getting into your body. How many of us are always in our mind, just, oh, I got to do the dishes, and then I got to run to here, and then I got to run to there. And then, oh, the business it needs focused on. So if you're able to, rub your hands, wiggle your toes, do something with your hands, that can help you get back into your body and be present. So that's what the article is about, really practical. And that's the other thing. Busy people need practical suggestions.
3 steps too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I think the idea of something that is practical and repeatable, where it doesn't take a lot. And I know for me, I don't get out to nature very often, or as much as I'd like. But the idea of when I'm walking on a pathway, quite often I'll carry, I think you even said that in the article, like to touch a branch or a pine cone or something where it is, it's a grounding thing for me. Where, especially in the dog park, I usually would take my dog and then I'd grab a twig or something, but it was unconscious, but it was just a way for me to not be in my head, because I think sometimes we get in our heads so much that we forget how is that showing up? And not even just for ourselves, but when we're planning and we've got a team and we are responsible for others within that planning cycle, they will take cues from us. And I believe very strongly that as leaders in whatever field you are in, we have a responsibility to remain centered, to find our place. And yes, there's the organization, and yes, there's a lot to be done. And sometimes we get head to the wind, and we've got all of the spreadsheets and everything that needs to happen, that we get very in that zone of doing without taking care of ourselves along the way. And you would probably appreciate this, Kristy, but the idea of when I first moved to Calgary, this is the second time, we've been here about 10 years now, but the first time I was 24, and I had lived a pretty full and busy planning life in my kind of high school, college years, and basically was cooked. And I was so burnt out, moved to Calgary, and I really had to reconnect with myself and understand that there is not just more to life than work. That was certainly part of it, but how do I pace myself? And how do I ensure that I'm creating routines that will serve me and that will help me stay in the game? Because at 24 and feeling like my career is now over and maybe I'll just move on to something completely mindless, also kills your spirit, because I think we all have something to give to the world. So what maybe some tips or ideas around routines that we can create every day for those of us that have a hard time relaxing, but also have a hard time maybe building that into our routine that works? And I know you said it's different for everybody. Every client of yours is different, but
Right.
are there a couple of tips that we could do to create more of a lifestyle that way?
For sure. The reason that I say everybody's unique is because I just want to honor everyone's uniqueness. So if something doesn't sit right with you, like if you're the kind of person that a puzzle would make you insane, don't listen to that tip.
Exactly. We're going to let you off the hook, and I will not put that in the chat box that you need to do a puzzle. Okay, go ahead.
That's right. Maybe you need a long bath. Maybe,
Yeah.
So that's why, that's the whole point behind being a mentor, is actually really customizing it for you. So don't feel pressured. Like type A people and some type B people, but very successful people often are like, well, give me the formula and I will just nail it down. And then if it doesn't work, then they're hard on themselves. So,
right.
But if we generalize some things, I would say the first thing that, my little piece of wisdom is, what gets scheduled gets done. So if you
Love
write,
it.
yeah, do you find that, Lisa? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if you're writing, a 15 or 16 item to-do list, you're setting yourself up for failure because it just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling. So you say, I'll do these 15 things, and at the end of it, I'll relax.
Mm-hmm.
So I say, schedule it in. So after our call, I have 15 minutes that I will go and I will take a walk. I will drink a cup of tea. Like, that's the key. Don't rely on it happening organically for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned the storm and this idea that you have to be responsible for what you're creating. And I believe that 100%. Our emotions affect everything, and they affect the people around us. So to take a moment and calm yourself down, especially if you're at an event or in a team situation or as a leader, you really do have to take those micro breaks throughout the day so that you can re-enter and really be calm and send out that energy. So schedule in small mini micro breaks, 10 to 15 minutes. I also think scheduling in longer breaks, and I think anything over 30 minutes needs to be really scheduled. Like, tonight, I'm not gonna go out. Not that. Well, you can still go out. It's COVID. People are still out in the world.
Totally. I'm such a hermit these days that I went to the dollar or to get something the other day. And I said to my daughter, I'm like, I'm going on my journey to the dollar store. But it's just like having, yeah, exactly. I think we can still go out and there still can be a life beyond COVID. So sorry, go
That's
ahead.
right. But sometimes you schedule it, you know, if
Yeah.
I go out, I schedule a longer break. If I'm out in the world for 3 or 4 hours, I don't have clients after that. Like
Yeah, yeah.
because you just need to just schedule it in. That would be my
Mhm.
you know, hot tip, so to speak.
Exactly. Well, and I really love the idea of building it into a schedule. And I think that sometimes I had a friend who hated scheduling anything and hated to actually build, even we do a lot of strategies. So this idea of building a strategy and milestones and timelines on things. And his rationale was that things are going to change. So why build a plan? And the idea, again, as a planner,
Yeah.
and my passion for not just planning but getting things done. So how do we actually move things forward and see results over time, like they're and incremental results, and this idea of putting something on the calendar and not, and then like you said, don't beat yourself up if it turns out to be 10 minutes instead of half an hour, or the idea too of distracting yourself. And I think I added this tip just on your page as well, Kristy.
Yes.
It was like a candy tip, but it was, if this is new to you, allow yourself the opportunity to test. There might be things, maybe it is a walk, maybe it's getting into nature, maybe it is, for me, puzzles kind of surprised me, because at first I was like, oh, that's such a job. I used to think it was such a, my husband loves puzzles or games, and then to allow myself to go there and test it out. And I realize I don't like to do Picasso puzzles. For me, that is like, please don't, like, anything else, like I will cook for you, clean for you, whatever, but could you just not make me do a Picasso puzzle? But there are certain puzzles that I find that I really love the images or whatever, they're inspiring for me. So I had to test that out. And then the idea of going out of your comfort zone. So yes, we're organized, but like you said, I am a creative. So maybe there's something about classes or things that really light you up. Like I took a watercolor class this summer, which was really energizing. It was just a couple of days. It was over a weekend, and it really allowed me, again, to get out of my head and onto paper with
Mhm.
something that wasn't necessarily leading me towards a result. And to allow yourself to be there without having it, I think sometimes when we plan, there's like, especially with events, there's a deadline and there's some kind of a result at the end that we all want to celebrate. And
Right.
that's amazing. And that's what, one of the reasons I love events. But this idea of letting the end go and being in the moment. And that's actually why the magazine name of the magazine is Moments, is that events are built on many dozens and thousands of moments that are put together so that there's this experience that happens. And if we lose ourselves in the end and just looking for that result, we miss all these moments along the way. And I believe very strongly that the closer we get to ourselves and our own health and wellness, the better we are going to connect, not just with our own dreams and goals or with our teams, but with those that are coming to our events, and they're going to feel that. So this idea, Kristy, of what you're saying about it's not just distract to relax and then do nothing, because like you were saying, like if you were sitting and doing nothing in the backyard, it means you've crashed.
Right.
That is not where we want people to be living, where you feel like you have been completely spent and that there's just literally nothing left. And I'm sure you work with clients like that, where you can rebuild from that place. We talk a lot about mental health and this idea of maintenance, but there also is this place, sometimes you're just completely you're done, and whatever level that means for you. But someone like you, Kristy, that would be able to walk them through, how do you gain the grounding and the healing again? Is that something that you also do for people?
Yes, absolutely. So the idea for me is, what I do is I work with people who want to heal naturally. So I often get clients who have hit rock bottom. They're ready to sell their business, or quit their job, or their relationships are not going well. Their health inevitably is not optimal. And so I get a lot of clients who I'm like their last hope. And that is a rebuilding. And I love working with people like that, because you see, you watch them transform, and you can really empower them to see that there is real change. It might be small at first, but there's real change. But then I like it when we get past that crisis, like in an event for you, there's always a crisis point, and then you get past that.
A couple of them, maybe.
The food isn't hot, or
Right.
who knows, which would bring you stress. And whether it's big or small, your body feels everything as a major crisis. Your body and emotions, there's signals that are happening all the time. And it doesn't matter what you say mentally, oh, this isn't a big deal, or conceptually, I realize that I shouldn't be stressed out about this. If you're having a response, you're having a response.
Right.
And so, my goal, especially when someone like you, Lisa, asked me to join them, I love these conversations, because my goal is to say, you can have this before you hit rock bottom. Schedule this in before
exactly.
you have no choice, and really ask yourself, what can you afford not to do? So, you mentioned, like, people that weren't a strategy session where they're like, I'm not scheduling anything. When I see someone saying that to me, I say, what are you avoiding? And what are you terrified will happen if you put a frame around what you're doing? To me, that's a flag in terms of what's going on emotionally, that you don't want to commit to something. We don't have to commit huge things. Just commit to the idea of commitment.
Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because I ran our Planning with Vision workshop last week. And that was one of, we talk about vision boards, and usually this is a face-to-face, but there's a presentation or a worksheet that we go through in the session. And when I talk about the point of your vision board, where you've got all of your great photos or your images or your quotes or whatever you want to put on there, what I have found in face-to-face sessions, and where there's a bit of a barrier, is where you put you need to put the glue on the paper and the paper on the glue, and you need to put another and more glue and another whatever your quote, and it's the commitment to the paper. Right. And it is, when we talk about our visions and where we want to be and how we want our health to look, that commitment that you're talking about doesn't have to be complicated, but I think we need to act on it, and we need to act again, and it's in and again, and whether you call it a routine or if you call it just a rhythm to your life, or however you want to make sense of scheduling something like this, the idea of committing to it, that, like you say, the act itself will allow you to take the next step. And what a gift it is for someone like you, for us to have access to somebody like you that understands that. And my goal is that we have event planners all over the world that continue, and honestly, we have this has been a struggle for a lot of people. They have lost their jobs, they've lost their businesses. Events probably will not recover until next year in sort of a hybrid kind of way. So we're really looking at this very long-term effect that will be happening on a lot of people that have been, if you've been working in events a long time and you've stomached a lot of changes, this is probably one of the biggest ones. And so the idea of taking care of our health and wellness and having resources like what you've done, and how you can coach somebody, not just through, but then to create a lifestyle of that over time. That is a true gift. So I so appreciate this conversation. I love that we were able to feature you in the magazine. I will be doing a replay. So I think I mentioned this to you, Kristy, as well, but we'll do a watch party of this. I will on this thread, but then also on our watch party, I'll be adding all the links so that you can get a hold of Kristy. I'm sure that you would have a call with anybody from anywhere in Canada or around the world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I would like to offer you a 30-minute conversation with me. And what it is, no obligation, just 30 minutes. I would be happy to listen to what your issues are, and then what that means from a holistic perspective. So if you're saying, I can't calm down, I don't, everything like that, what does that mean holistically, and how can I help you? So that's going to be in, I don't know, a link.
Probably down there somewhere. We'll
yeah,
find
link down.
That's amazing. You know, and Kristy, what a gift that is. And in the, what has it been, half an hour that we've had to chat here, and all the takeaways that you've already given us, and a gift for someone to actually get specific and very personal advice from you. That's a fantastic thing. So thank you for that. We'll make sure that it's in the chat for you all. I am going to wrap this up. I'm so thankful for everybody that had the chance to contribute to the expand issue. We are right in the middle of what does expansion look like. So I want to encourage you to get creative, bring out some poster boards, bring out some Sharpies, or just go for a walk and think that there can be something on the other side of this that might even be better, more expansive. Maybe you are going to find gifts in yourself that maybe they were hidden, maybe you've never explored those before. So I so encourage you just to take a read of the latest issue of Moments Magazine. Again, it's at candyconsulting.ca/moments-magazine, and they're all free. You don't have to sign up. There's no sign in. You can actually download. This is the first time that we've actually made all of our issues downloadable. So I want to make sure, and downloadable for free. So we want to make sure that people are getting that information. Every one of our issues is evergreen. So what that means is that all the content is designed so that you can be reading this anytime from anywhere. It doesn't matter what event you're planning. And in what context you're planning, but it is meant to be ideas and encouragement and inspiration for you as you continue on this planning journey. So thank you, Kristy, again, for being here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I do have an email address, which I also will put into, actually, Kristy, I don't know if you knew this, but that I'll put into the chat box, but it's pickmybrain@candyconsulting.ca. I started this email because at the beginning of COVID, we were getting a lot of emails and a lot of calls, and just some listening ear. You just needed to pick my brain about something. I am more than happy to go there with you. So send me an email if you need to. For sure, connect with Kristy. Take her up on that 30 minutes free conversation and advice on your health and wellness. And we will see you hopefully next time around when we talk with our next contributor. Thanks, Kristy. We'll see you.
Bye, Lisa. Thank you.
Bye.